You're on the Six Screens Tele-Network, earning the reputation of giving all the right ingredients, uninhibited, and exposing the hard, cold facts about the Watchtower Society. And now, in Disney.
Well, here we go, another rocking and awesome Saturday night up here in New England. Snowing to beat the band, but we're going to get through tonight. I hope the power stays on. I believe it will. Stay with us. We've got lots to talk about tonight. Behind the curtains of the Watchtower. Well, hello everyone, and welcome into JW World News, and welcome into the Six Screens Tele-Network. My goodness, we have got a snowy night up here in Boston. I guess we were at ground zero. They were calling it a cyclone bomb. But, you know, they always make it sound worse, right? I was out a little earlier shoveling the cars out and getting them all brushed off to some degree. But it's going to snow all night. There was probably only about 10 inches on the ground. That's not too bad. But they're saying we could get upwards of 2 feet. Some areas 30 inches. So we'll see what happens. But everything's fine. We don't have a lot of wind blowing, so I don't think we're going to lose any power. South of here, down by Cape Cod and south of Boston, that's where they're having most of the problems. But we live north of Boston, almost on the New Hampshire line. So we're pretty good here. We're pretty good. But I'm glad you're with us tonight. I really, really am. Boy, I'll tell you, whenever it gets snowy and cold and miserable outside, it always seems like we have more and more people coming into the Six Screens. So I welcome you all in tonight, all you people on Facebook, all you people on YouTube, and we really do appreciate your presence. We really do. We're also broadcasting on our Six Screens video suite as well as our radio network. Now, look, if you'd like to call into the program, if you would like to call into the program tonight, and, you know, people want to, and if you want to call in, I'm going to give you a number, get a piece of paper, get a pencil. I'm going to give you the number to call in. Why don't you try it tonight? Well, why don't you give it a shot? Call into the Six Screens and let us know what's on your mind concerning the Watchtower. Okay, so the telephone number is 727-731-6701. You don't need a PIN. 727-731-6701, and you'll be able to speak up right here, and people will be able to hear you all over the world. They're listening in to our broadcast tonight. Well, anyways, my name is Rick Fearon. I have been doing this now for 16 years. We developed the Six Screens Tele-Network, which consists of a number of programs. We got about 17 different programs running on it right now. JW World News and a couple of our Sunday programs are the only, and one other Saturday night program too, Heart to Heart. We got about 4 programs on YouTube. But if you guys want to listen to more of the programming, we go all night long. So when JW World News goes off tonight, we've got Reese coming in from the belly of the beast down in New York City. So if you want to listen into his program and other programs all night long, go to sixscreensofthewatchtower.com. Scroll down to where you see hit here for video link, video suite, and that will bring you in. You can put a fictitious name in. Nobody's going to know who you are. You can listen in. You can see people typing in real time, chatting to one another. Or you can listen on our telephone network by just dialing a telephone number. It's all on the Six Screens. So go there if you want to listen to more programs on the Six Screens Tele-Network. Well, anyways, my name's Rick Fearon, as I say, and I'm coming to you from the apostate capital of the world, right up here in Boston. I say it every week, I know. I don't want to be redundant, but we do. We have a lot of apostates up here in New England, and wherever you are, don't you worry one bit. With all of the people leaving the Watchtower right now, you are going to be in good company. You just watch. Give it another 6 months. Give it another year. People are leaving like you can't believe. I'm getting emails. I'm getting so many people writing me saying, Rick, I don't believe it anymore, but I'm still hanging in. I'm just kind of attending their services in a perfunctory way, going on Zoom and just making them happy because they don't want to be disfellowshipped and have all kinds of repercussions brought upon them. But anyways, you're in good company. We have everyone listening into the program tonight. They're either former Jehovah's Witnesses or they're witnesses that they're wiggling their way loose. And we have those in here as well. So by all means, stay with us tonight. Don't be a stranger. And listen, I really mean it. If you guys could call in, it makes all the difference in the world. All right, let's take a look. What I do is I go through the news every week. I try to find the top stories that are going on behind the curtains. And I would say the top story this week in the Watchtower, of course, we deal with all the critical stories, right? I would say the most critical story for the Watchtower this week is the Watchtower loses its state funding in Norway. Here we go again, another country coming down on the Jehovah's Witnesses. Don't you love it? I love it when the countries come down on the witnesses. And in this case, it's costing the witnesses some money. I'll tell you how much in just a little while. But Jehovah's Witnesses, they have been denied state funding in Norway for the year 2021. So they're not going to be getting their check in the mail from Norway. You see, there are countries that actually pay religions. In the United Kingdom, for example, the witnesses are paid by the government on a per head basis. The more people in the religion, the more the religion gets. Similar in Norway. So now Norway says, no, we are taking away the state funding. So the state administrator in Oslo and Viken denies the religious community of Jehovah's Witness state grants for 2021. I love those headlines. I really do. Now, why? Why is Norway not going to give money to the witnesses this year for the first time? Why? Because of the societies, the Watchtower Society's exclusionary practice. What? Exclusionary practice? Well, I think you get the gist here. Yeah, their practice of shunning members. After receiving warnings from previous members regarding exclusion or how they have been disfellowshipped and shunned, well, the government looked into it and said, wait a minute, something's not right here. That's not a good practice. A Christian religion that shuns members when they leave. So the Ministry of Children and Family Affairs. Oh, this is always interesting. The government is looking out for the children. It says the Ministry of Children and Family Affairs has asked the state administrator in Oslo to review Jehovah's Witnesses, their statements, their publications, and they uncovered many violations in the Religious Communities Act. Don't you love stories like this? Somehow, when I hear a story like this, it's like having a bowl of chicken soup on a snowy day like today. It just warms my heart. It really does. These guys need the states, the governments to come after them. And they are. And we're seeing this. So Norway acknowledging the exclusionary practice of, ones being disfellowshipped and they're no longer members. And what happens to them after they leave the community of Jehovah's Witnesses, it's just appalling. Norway's government says it's not good. It's not what religion should do. Don't you wish America would do that? Don't you wish America would do that? So anyways, they're in trouble. Though the Watchtower's in trouble in Norway. I could read you more here, but I wanted to also bring this up. What really concerned the government of Norway is concerning even children. As I said, when children come into the picture, the dynamics change. Norway is concerned about unbaptized children who break rules in the religious community. Even an unbaptized child, say 15, 16, they could be kicked out of their house and they would be exposed to any social isolation. All the witnesses would discard that person, a young person. They don't like that. So Norway, as well as other countries, I'm sure, are beginning to see, and in this case, they are seeing Jehovah's Witnesses are not a loving organization. In fact, I'm going to also bring up another story here. I'm going to get, if you guys are on YouTube, you'll be able to see this. It was another story on the same thought here. Let me see if I can't get in here and find it for us. I'm just a one-man operation here, so please be with me and bear with me. I'm going to put this up, and I'm going to bring it in here so I can have you guys see it. It's a former member who was in Norway, and he's a guy that really got the whole ball rolling, and I really want to thank. His name is Jan, and I think it's really important that we bring this up. I'm gonna try to get this on here so you guys can see it. Let me share this with you. I'll show you a picture of Jan. He's a young man and I give him a lot of credit. He spoke up and he exposed the Watchtower, and now they're in big time shape. So let me just take a look here and see what he is. Okay, he's from in Norway. All right, let's get his picture up here for you. I believe now you'll be able to see that. That is Jan. That is our friend Jan, our apostate friend Jan. Well, let me read you a little bit about Jan, and you'll be able to understand what's going on over there. Well, what Jan did is he's just a young guy. I think he's even in his late teens or early 20s. And on Thursday, he received, they got a letter saying that the Watchtower is no longer going to get state help. So this was really shocking to Jan. He's the guy that really set the whole ball in action over there. But he was shocked. Jan is also an excluded member. He was disfellowshipped from the Jehovah's Witnesses, but he let people know over there using not a fraudulent name, but a fictitious name. So he let the magazine, there was a magazine over there that went out to lots of people, and they did a little expose on the Jehovah's Witnesses, and Jan caught the information from that magazine, and they talked to him about it, and he told them what goes on. So the magazine looked into, I guess, Jan's accusations, and they contacted the Watchtower, and Jan was just appalled on how the Watchtower came back and answered the magazine's questions. Jan believed the Watchtower, the Jehovah's Witnesses in Norway, were lying about the practice of exclusion. Evidently the magazine asked Watchtower, do you really shun people, or do you not want anything to do with them? Norway is calling it exclusion, but here we're calling it shunning. So they asked the Watchtower branch, evidently, over that way, I believe it would have been in Norway, about this exclusion. Do you do that? And they actually came on and lied. And this really shook this young man up. They wrote that the family's ties continue as normal. Now that's a lie, isn't it? Well, would you say, now listen, you guys, look, I'm preaching to the choir here in some respects, but you know as well as I do, when you are disfellowshipped from the Jehovah's Witness organization, is it normal? Do you still have normal relations with your family and friends? Are your ties cut off? The Watchtower in Norway is saying, oh no, it's just everything stays normal. That is a bald-faced lie. And see, the witnesses have been able to get away with this for many years. But now these governments are catching up on them. And, poor Jan, he feels that he's kind of like, he doesn't want to be a witness anymore. So he couldn't stand holding back and not using his real name. So Jan came out and he let people know. His name is Jan Nielsen. He said, I don't want to pretend anymore. I don't want to live a double life. I'm just so fed up with the Watchtower lying that I'm coming out, and I don't care what my family does to me. So obviously his whole family now is kind of just shunning him to the highest order. So this I like. This guy's a young activist now. He wants to work exposing the Watchtower, but he's not happy. He's not happy, even though he's come out. He's using his real name now. He says he's sad. He had to expose it, and he's glad it got out. The people in Norway could hear about it. The people all over the world are hearing about it, including us here tonight on the 6 screens. But the thing that he was sad about is he says it's really not going to change anything. He doesn't feel that, people who are being shunned right now will be moved by this. Well, Jan, I got news for you. I don't know if you're listening into the program here tonight or not, but we do have callers coming in. We have them coming in. I don't see Norway tonight, but we have had Norway in here. But let me just say this to Jan. You have to start somewhere. You got to take the first step of a journey. Now, we have Norway saying, hey, exclusion, shunning is bad. So, Jan, if you're out there listening, let me tell you something. You're a real hero, and you are making a difference. And even though you might be sad because you know that's not going to change overnight, but I'm going to tell you something. The more people hear about the heinous, evil acts of the Jehovah's Witnesses and their shunning practices, it's going to make a big difference. But here's the punchline. Here is the punchline. How much money are the Jehovah's Witnesses actually going to lose because of not having state funding in Norway? Whoa, I couldn't believe it. 16 and 17 million is what it looks like. But, you might say, well, that's just peanuts to the Watchtower. Well, it is in some respects, but how much money can you really lose in lawsuits? How much money can you lose when you're having all these lawsuits for pedophilia and other lawsuits coming against you? So 17 million bucks, that's it. Now, you know something? This organization, maybe it will stop shunning when the money stops. Maybe it's always about money, right? This story will never get posted on jw.org, will it? Will it? No, it won't. You're not going to read this on jw.org. They're not proud of this. But, I wish they would put it up there. What do you guys think? You're on with us. You're on JW World News. Go ahead, speak up.
Hey, Rick.
Okay, Dick, yes.
I think everybody knows that Jeffrey Jackson told the Australian Royal Commission that Jehovah's Witnesses don't shun, but if somebody leaves the organization, they just communicate themselves or just fellowship themselves. What a bunch of liars. My son hasn't talked to me in 30 years. My sister hasn't talked to me in 30 years because of sins that were committed back in the 80s. The sick religion.
Isn't it sick, huh? It is sick, Dick. I'm with you, and it is disturbing with what they get away with, but the countries are now catching up with them. Thank you, Dick.
Hey, Rick?
Yes, Anne-Marie.
Regarding what you said about maybe if the Watchtower loses enough money as basically punishment or as a consequence of their shunning practice, maybe it will help them to not, enforce their shunning policy. And I think that's entirely possible. I'm remembering way back when we used to have to pay for our literature. Remember that? And wasn't it Jimmy Swaggart or some big guy that was making money off of his religious stuff? Whatever it was he was making money off of, and that's what Watchtower was doing the whole time, making money off of us, buying the literature from them. And remember, Watchtower was, quote-unquote, a friend of the court because it was to their advantage that I think it was Jimmy Swaggart, who they were hoping would win his case. Well, he lost the case. So then Watchtower realized, hey, we could really be in big trouble. All of a sudden they get new light that now they're going to have all of their literature be free of charge, right?
You got it. You got it, Anne-Marie. Unbelievable.
Thank you, Ray.
Well, thank you, Anne-Marie. No, and in fact, at the Watchtower, they always seem to come out smelling like a rose. But I'll tell you what, their better days are behind them. Their better days are behind them. And why can I say that? Well, I can say it because there's so many people leaving the Watchtower right now. I mean, you guys, you must be reading what's going on the internet. You must be reading what's going on Reddit and some of these forums. All the YouTube videos being made, it's absolutely unbelievable. But I have to tell you that they're losing. I mean, the numbers are down for the service year this year. Not as many people have been baptized. And in fact, I believe it was 20% less this year. So we've got also Japan. Now, Japan, back in the 80s and 90s, if you were a Jehovah's Witness in Japan, you were an elitist. You were a rock star, a Japanese witness, because, I mean, they really had this real sense of loyalty. I'm just going to mute some people in. Hold on one second. Just going to do that. Okay. Yeah, they had this real sense of loyalty to the Watchtower, the Japanese witnesses. But all of a sudden, we have Japan losing congregations like crazy. As a matter of fact, let me put it this way to you. Let me give you some numbers. Japan back in 1998, they had a huge increase. People were coming out of the woodwork to want to be a Jehovah's Witness in Japan. And then, of course, let me give you the numbers. In Japan in 1998, there were 222,912 publishers, 3,802 congregations. Now, 6 years, fast forward, 6 years, 2004, it dropped by 5,357 publishers, and it dropped by 638 congregations. Yes, all of a sudden, a complete reversal in Japan. Friends, this is happening, not just in Japan, but other places as well. Now, people are wondering, why the big drop? Was it because of the change in the generation? Remember, back in 2019, and they kept upping the ante and changing the generation. I mean, we all know about that. The overlapping generation, did that cause all these Japanese witnesses to leave? Was it the failed doctrine of 1914? Was it the internet? As a matter of fact, some people even think, do you remember back in the 80s, there was an attack in the subway system in Japan? 12 people died with sarin gas. This was an extremely cultish organization. If you guys remember, there was a Japanese cult, and it was instituted by, it's called Shaniko. I'm not Japanese, but it's Shiko, which means Supreme Truth Cult. And if you guys can remember, back then they put sarin gas in the subway system. 12 people died. So, I'm just saying here, as I was going through some of this information about why the witnesses in Japan are leaving, this was one of the theories. But I don't think that could be all of it. But see, what it did, the Japanese, they're very thorough in their reporting. And it could have been that, they really talked about the cult and how people got attracted to it. And they also had a doomsday scenario as well, very much like the witnesses. Armageddon. I don't know what the doomsday scenario was, but it was a doomsday scenario. Everyone was going to be, killed but them. So the witnesses had the same way of thinking. And maybe because of the exposure about it, all these congregations went out of business, so to speak, and witnesses left. Maybe the same thing is going to happen here now that we see all these documentaries being exposing the Watchtower. Maybe the same thing will happen here. So anyways, Japan, hey, I want to thank you guys. Don't go back into that organization. I say throw them into the sea over there. You don't need them. So I thought that interesting. I thought that story was somewhat interesting, because the reason why I even say it is I was always going down to the Witnesses Now for Jesus convention in Pennsylvania. And around 2008, there was a delegation that came from Japan. There was about 7 or 8 Japanese ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, and they wanted to come and meet with the American ex-witnesses, and they became Christians, and they wanted to come down to the Witnesses Now for Jesus in Pennsylvania, and met a number of the delegates from Japan that were at one time witnesses and wiggled away loose. And now there's more than ever getting out. So kudos to Japan. Kudos to Japan. Yep. Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, people are finding out what the Watchtower is hiding behind, right? You're listening in tonight. You found out what they're hiding behind. Maybe you had doubts at first, Maybe you figured, well, maybe what I'm reading isn't right. But the more you researched, and we encourage everyone to research. The more you research, the more you found out about the Watchtower, right? Yeah. So, anyways, I was looking through the JW.org this week, and the January 2022 Watchtower. And can you believe the Watchtower is actually entitled? I'm going to put a picture up. See if I can't put a picture up, and you guys can see it if you're on YouTube. I'll read you it. I think it's important that you see the picture. I really do. So let's get the picture up so you can see it, and I'll read you the title. And there it is right there. If you're on YouTube, you can see it. If you're on our 6 screens, let me just make sure you can see it. Yeah. All right. Okay, yeah, you can see it on there. So anyways, here's the title. Here's the Watchtower, January 2022. It's a new one. And it's got a bunch of smiling faces on the front. It shows a man there, a Jehovah's Witness man, taking a selfie with some of the witness friends behind him. But what's interesting here is the title. It got my attention, Breaking the Cycle of Hatred. Now, that got my fancy. It got my attention. So what do they really mean? Jehovah's Witnesses are trying to encourage you to break the hatred that would be in your mind. What does it mean? Well, what's this article all about? So I kind of read through it, and I got kind of really disgusted reading it because it's more Watchtower lies and propaganda. It starts off basically by saying, what does it mean? And all this Watchtower. I'm going to get to, folks, I got a caller, and I'm going to mute you. So the area code 120, I'm going to mute you if you don't mind. And when you want to speak up, hit *6. That'll bring you back in again. Oh, okay, so what is the Watchtower really saying here? What it means to avoid hatred, get it out of your mind. Well, the cycle of hate, it says, begins in the mind and the heart. Well, that's true. So this is right out of the article. The cycle of hatred begins in the mind and heart. Therefore, we must root out any hint of hatred from thoughts and feelings. Isn't it interesting that one of the biggest hate groups in the world is now coming out with an article? See, this is propaganda at its best. They're now coming out with an article showing you that hatred is so bad. And then it says that we must root out any hint of hatred from our thoughts and feelings. Only then can we truly be transformed and break the cycle of hatred. So what can we do? All right, well, I have a lot I could say to the witnesses on what they could do. How about showing some love to people when they don't want to be a Jehovah's Witness anymore? Rather than show them hatred, why don't you show them love? That would go a long way. Now, I want to just read this. In the article, it said, take an honest look at how you think and feel about others, especially those of another race or nationality. I caught that. It doesn't use religion here. It says take an honest look at how you look and feel about others, especially those of another race or nationality. Why don't they say also take a look at other people's religion and don't show them hatred? It doesn't say that, does it? Because they know darn well that they hate all religions. The only religion they like is themselves. All other religions are from Satan the devil. So they are very, very cozy. It's very fallacious writing. Yeah, that's what I find. Okay, so they're saying that you want to, not show hatred toward another race or another nationality. Now you want to ask yourself, I'm reading right from the Watchtower, ask yourself, how do I view them? Is my viewpoint based on what I personally know about them, or is it based on prejudice? Oh my goodness, this is the Watchtower speaking here, folks. Based on prejudice, you want to talk about one of the most prejudiced organizations in the world, that's the Jehovah's Witnesses. And then they say avoid social media, movies, or entertainment that feature hatred and violence. Well, what about their books? I'm going to show you some pictures from some of their books tonight that are kind of showing hatred. So God's word, according to the Watchtower here, can help us overcome hatred in our heart and our mind. Does this make you sick? They're the experts now on not showing hatred toward people. It's not always, I'm reading right verbatim from the Watchtower, it's not always easy to evaluate our own thoughts and feelings objectively, but God's word can help us to discern thoughts and intentions of the heart. Now, I don't know. I don't know how you guys feel about it. You have some thoughts, Anne-Marie?
Thank you. Yeah, that's just about as sick and twisted as the Ku Klux Klan writing that same type of article and saying in reference to, hate about not hating other people of another culture or religion, and completely ignoring the fact that they are like a number one epitome of absolute hate toward other races. Thank you, Rick.
Yeah, so here they are, the experts on love and not showing hatred. It says, compare its teachings with your thinking. That is the Bible's teachings with your thinking. Do your best to bring your thinking in line with what the Bible teaches. God's word can help us overcome hatred that is strongly entrenched in our minds and hearts. So they're saying, hatred, get it out of your mind. Well, it's entrenched in the mind of the witnesses. Okay, Ron, let's go ahead. What do you want to say?
Yeah, Mr. Fearon.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, caller. Next, the other one.
All right, go ahead, Dick.
All right, thank you. All this from an organization that told us people in print that you could, if the government would allow it, they would execute people that have been disfellowshipped. What a loving organization.
Yeah, that's exactly right. The 1951, 52, I'm not sure, Watchtower, November 1st, that if the laws of the land would allow it, the way it was written, it was suggesting that they would kill you if the laws of the land allowed it because you left Jehovah's organization. Thank you, Dick. Go ahead, Mr. Ken.
Yes, thank you for taking my call, and a good evening to everybody here. A while ago you were talking about people being disfellowshipped and how they show hatred to those people. And I want to add this too now. I've had experience with people that have come to the aid of those who are disfellowshipped and so forth, and the Watchtower Society turns against them too, and everything like that, even if they were maybe friendly with them and so forth. And another example is I like look who's talking about the hatred issue and not showing hatred to somebody. In the Jeremiah films, Witnesses of Jehovah, they got a segment on there that shows that all of God's enemies are going to be killed at Armageddon, and they show a section in of a church going down, women and children going down, and everything like that, but they're going to be the survivors. So I find it hard to believe that they would lecture somebody on, hatred of people.
Yeah, it's really double speak, isn't it? They're trying to make people believe they're loving. Absolutely. You got it, Kimmel. Thank you very much. Okay, we got another caller coming in. Thank you. We got another caller coming in. You'll have to hit *06 to unmute yourself. All right. You want to speak up? I'll unmute you. You're just in there. All right. You want to speak up? You're on with us. Go ahead. Well, too much background noise here. We can't take that call. Yes, Randy.
When they talked about violent, not even looking at in anything that has violence, it made me think of the video game. I haven't seen it, but Andrew was telling me it's kind of like the Mario Brothers, where Caleb or is a character on it, and a cartoon character, and he's like throwing the silver Bibles, and it blows up at the people when it hits them. It's like an explosion. I mean, you talk about violence. I mean, that's just that's something they're supposed to stay away. But have you heard of that game where they do that?
No, but I mean, I know there's games like that. But
that's a Watchtower game that they
I've heard about it. I haven't seen it, But yeah, that's a violent game, and here they got kids playing it, and they're telling everybody else to stay away from violent things. You're right, Randy. It's crazy. Yeah, they speak out of both sides of their mouth. It's crazy. All right, well, that was Randy. Good, thank you, Randy, for coming and being with us. Don't be a stranger, Randy. All right, now, anyways, look at these.
Hey, Rick?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, Dan. Yeah, I couldn't help, maybe somebody already commented on it, but I couldn't help thinking of Tony Morris, and he said that he'd be glad when we're all dead. I mean, that's on video. I mean, you imagine that, a minister, any type of minister. I mean, that sounds like the Church of Satan. He knows, the one who blew out the match. I mean, that's insane to wish people dead. But yet, Rick, the last meeting me and Angela went to was about, I don't know, a couple of years just before they shut off the meetings, we snuck into one. On the front of the Watchtower, they had the witnesses standing in their suit coats, and the angels were coming down, and it was a bloodbath. A bloodbath. Rick, that's as hateful as it gets. A bloodbath. I mean, they're hoping any day that genocide will happen in this world. And you know something, Rick? I talked to a lady a little while ago, and she said, "What do you think? You think they have an internet connection to God?" Well, they say they do. And here's the thing. They said in that talk, Rick, the public talk said Jehovah has actually executed judgment upon Babylon the Great. Why are you preaching that? If Jehovah's already executed judgment on Babylon the Great, I mean, there's no sense preaching. That means everyone who's gotten on their knees, every Christian, every Baptist, every Catholic, every fundamentalist Christian that is worshiping God, they're telling their people there's a bloodbath any day, a genocide to all of those good people. If that isn't hatred, Rick, I don't know what is, man. These guys, I mean, what kind of man what kind of man hates people like that? Hates people who leave, hates people who worship different. That's sick. That's not even American.
Well, I know it gets us all angry, but see, this is one of the tricks the Watchtower does. All they have to do is tell you they don't hate, and the witnesses say, "See, we don't hate." But boy, they don't see the whole picture. They really, really don't.
Rick, they're just like they've always been. As you and I know, they're manipulators. They have two magic words they say, and it pisses me off. One of them is the Bible says, and everybody jumps to. The second thing they say is Jehovah says, and it's like a magic wand over these people. They'll do anything. And here's what I think, Rick. I think before long, Watchtower will own everything that those people have. And I'm going to tell you why. They already do. They own their minds. All they got to say is Jehovah, honor Jehovah with your valuable things. Well, what does that mean, brothers? They take them, read them a couple scriptures, and wham! They own everything right now. The people just don't know it. If people are still in there now after all that's been going on, all the shenanigans, all the exposure, all the stuff that's going on, they own them right now because they own their mind. If they own your mind, you're not free. And what's scary, Rick, is when Watchtower says, Jehovah says, it's like a magic wand tapped on their head, and they will do anything. I'm telling you, they would do anything. I would have did anything in there if they said Jehovah says. And so they've got it down, Rick. It's scary that they've got a system. I don't think anybody's coming in there anymore, but it's scary that they've had a system that has brought in so many people. You know, the name Jehovah, and you know how they came up with it and why it's important, and it was in the Bible. And they have
something else to tell you.
Go ahead. Go right ahead.
Yeah, well, you know when Tony Morris blew that match out?
Yep.
That's actually witchcraft, and it's called match magic. And anybody can Google it, but it's witchcraft, and that's what he was doing.
Oh my God! Have you heard anything like that, Rick?
No, this is the first I'm hearing it. I'll Google it, but I'm sure the sister is telling the truth. I never realized.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Just thought I'd like to let y'all know that.
Well,
That's good.
It's called match magic,
wow.
and it's witchcraft.
Well, thank you, sister. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. No, the deeper we go here.
I can see the candle magic element to that. I also see a dramatic element to it. I also see that anger and hatred are very strong words. If a person really wants to walk away from something, just be indifferent to it, have a boundary, and walk away. There's no need to get one's clothes in a bunch. And his anger and hatred is really often used to incite crowds.
Well, good. Yeah, good point, Pixie. Thank you. Yeah, go ahead, Dick.
Yeah, just another thought. What the brother just said, he was right on. And it was well said. They are setting Jehovah's Witnesses up right now. They're telling them that if Jehovah tells you to do something, even if it doesn't make sense to you, you do it. Have faith in Jehovah and have faith in his organization. I will bet you anything that they're going to tell you to sell your homes and give all the money to the Watchtower. I'll bet that's coming. Just a guess.
Well, you give these guys an inch, they'll take a mile. I wouldn't say it wouldn't happen. They might not be able to pull it off as successfully as they would like, but there are enough low-level mentality people that would do it. There is. I can remember I had an older couple over my house for supper 20 years ago. And they were a Bible study. They just came in. They were only in the organization for maybe 2 or 3 years. And they can't invite them over supper. So they start saying at the supper table how they're going to leave everything to the Watchtower when they die. Their home and everything. I took them outside because there were some other witnesses in the room. I took them outside. I said, did I hear you right? You want to leave all your belongings to the Watchtower? Yes. Yeah, we love Jehovah. We love the Watchtower. We want to leave everything to them. We're going to leave our home. I said, well, what about your children? They had 2 children. And I said, what about them? I mean, do they come into the equation? Well, they don't really follow Jehovah, and we think this would be the best thing to do. I said, well, really think seriously about that. But no, there's plenty of people who would do it, Dick. Plenty, yes. Okay, my goodness. Yeah, I mean, how much? Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with Dick. I was thinking the same thing. I mean, Watchtower's got them so under hypnosis. And, it's so sad because when I was in there, because I didn't know anything, because I was born in, because I was, I didn't know about other perspectives and Christianity and different things. They were my tutors. So when they told me all of this about Jehovah and Trinities and all this, and they kind of separated us from Babylon the Great, I was like, wow. But once I got out, I could see a bigger picture. But the interesting thing is, being that the people are in there under biblical hypnosis, under, I guess what you'd call, I just call it the Bible in the wrong hands is a deadly weapon. And they're using it as a weapon against their own people. I mean, they're telling them not to listen to themselves, listen to their heart, listen to their, and I just feel like Dick Borgie, Rick, I've thought about it. What are they going to ask for next? I mean, they've already drank the Kool-Aid. They're already under hypnosis. And I'll tell you how that was proved to me, if I could, Rick. Could I share how that was proved to me?
Go ahead, yeah.
Here's how I was under hypnosis, Rick. A lady asked me one time when I came out, she said, Dan, if the Watchtower asked you to wear brown, would you wear brown? And I laughed my ass off. I said, what are you talking about, wear brown? She said, if the Watchtower told you to wear brown, would you wear brown? And I said, I just kind of laughed and walked away, but I said, yeah, I'd wear brown. I'd wear whatever the hell they told me. Rick, it's scary. It's scary, this hypnosis that these people are under. They don't have a mind of their own. What reigns in their temple is governing body. Men reign in their temple. They can't listen to their heart, their inner GPS. We've got a system within us. We've got a left brain, a survivalist brain. We've got a right brain, the theory, prayer. We've got our heart. We've got a whole energy field within us to listen to and guide us. But when we're in Watchtower is that temple. That temple is no longer Dan's temple. So I'm like with Borgie thinking, what will they ask of these people? And I already know, Rick, they can ask whatever they want, because I was in that place not long ago where with no matter what Watchtower told me, if they said it was time to take off and go to heaven, I drank the Kool-Aid. Because Watchtower reigns. Watchtower, it's scary, Rick, that at this point in time,
you would have killed yourself for them?
What's that?
You would have killed yourself if they told you to?
I might have. Yes. Because of this, Mike. Because of this. Because I was so indoctrinated. I mean, look at Watchtower right now. They tell them to turn left. They tell them don't make meetings. Take the shot. You know, we're all, you know, they're encouraging. I've heard it both ways. I've heard they're letting people decide, but I know they're strongly encouraging the injections. The Watchtower is nothing like it was when I was in there now. And the people are still following. The people are still blindly following. I don't know if it'd be Kool-Aid, Mike. I don't know if it'd be that drastic if I wouldn't.
Well,
you know.
I mean, right. Well, maybe that'll happen. Then maybe they'll all kill themselves and the world will be rid of these evil, disgusting people. Wouldn't that be good?
Well, Mike, let me just bring this up to Mike. Mike, you know, about 5 years ago, your mom died.
What does that have to do with it?
Well, I'll tell you what. If you just listen to me, okay? Your mom died, and then how did she die, Mike? Could you tell the audience that, please?
But she died from cancer.
Well, yeah, but what was the major concern in your life and your dad's life at that time?
Well, for a while, but that's not why she died.
Well, why don't you tell the audience what was going on?
Yeah, she needed a blood transfusion. Well, she lived maybe another year after that.
Did she want to take the blood transfusion?
No.
All right. What if she died from not taking the transfusion? Well, I mean, is that
I would have been angry about it. Right?
Yeah. But you're looking at like a person who would take the Kool-Aid would be completely stupid. But I mean, your mother was willing to die for the Watchtower by not taking a blood transfusion, right? I mean, she got cancer, like you said.
Rick, that's not.
I can see a connection there. I mean, people will do whatever the Watchtower tells them. Look at all the people dying from refusing blood transfusions. So
that's true, Rick.
You have nowhere to go with this. I mean, really, you're dead in the water here. You have nowhere to go.
Okay, you actually Rick. No, you don't. You actually believe that the Watchtower, you actually think that they would tell people to commit suicide. That goes against everything that they teach, Rick. I went there. I mean, I know you hate these people. I get it, but that's ridiculous.
Michael, they wanted me to let my child die because of that. So I know exactly what Rick's talking about, but I didn't do it. The only reason, and I'm ashamed to say, the only reason I didn't is because my dad was our presiding overseer, told me to let them give him blood, not to let him die. Otherwise, my son probably would have died. He had brain surgery. And Rick, do you know you're not on YouTube tonight?
I'm on YouTube, yes.
No, it won't play.
It what?
I've had it on there. Wait, I just now got on here. I've been waiting for you to come on. It says live, but it will not join in with you unless somebody else is picking it up. But my internet picks up everything but this.
Well, you might have to reset it, but I'm on there. I mean, I'm on there. People are commenting on there. Yeah, we're on YouTube. Yeah, we're on there. So, I mean, I'm looking at it right here on the screen. So somehow it's on your end. Yep. Refresh your page, Debbie. Refresh your page. Yep. Okay, go ahead. You're on with us.
This is Zachary.
Yes.
May I comment on this subject?
Sure.
Oh, Brandon.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Jack.
You know, whoever said that, I confused the words. Same to you. Now, Rick, okay, this idea, I do think you're, I don't know if I'm using the right word, conflating two different things. The idea of not taking a blood transfusion, that would have been me as a witness. I would not have taken a blood transfusion. So that is something witnesses don't do because they really believe the Bible says abstain from blood. So they don't do it. But if the society said, kill yourself, I would have never killed myself as a witness because they said, kill yourself. I would have never done that. And I don't think that witnesses would do that, would just kill themselves. I agree with you that they would not take blood, even though they may die because of it. But that's a little different from taking a knife and killing yourself or shooting yourself in the head. The witnesses haven't asked us to, didn't ask me to do that, and I would not have done it if they did. And to show you how my attitude, you know how sometimes you hear the thing, somebody reminded me again this week of a person who said they wish they had, they were upset because they were discouraged from going to college. Well, I was a witness. I was born in. And when I got to that age where I had to start making those decisions as to whether or not to go to college, I did my research. I knew that it wasn't looked upon nicely, and I went to college. And maybe the whole time I was there, I missed a handful of meetings, maybe 5 at the most. No one ever said a word to me in my face. Elders, none of them. Circuit overseer, none of them ever said a word to me. So I'm making the point, I would not have killed myself if the witnesses said, kill yourself.
All right.
I don't, and blood transfusion, that you're going a big stretch, and that might mislead.
Well, let me
Rick?
hold on one second, Dan. I want to ask Zach a question.
I think there's a lot of people.
I want to ask Zach a question. Now, you were a witness back in the 80s, probably the early 90s. Now, what I want to ask you, did you ever read a Watchtower?
I was the witness up to 2008. My last meeting was in 2008.
All right. So did you read any Watchtower articles back then that said something along the lines that we're going to come out with information that might not sound sensible from a human standpoint? Did you read any articles like that back then?
Rick, I've read many articles. I can't be swayed from this.
Well, wait a minute. You're not answering the question. I'm just asking. Did you ever read Jack? I let you talk. I did not interrupt you. I'm asking you a question. There's articles.
I don't mean to interrupt you. I'm saying I don't remember specifically, but I may have.
Well, the point I'm making, I've read 3 of them so far. Mm-hmm. There's one just this week I read that there's going to be some things that don't sound sensible coming out of the Jehovah's Witness organization. I never read anything like that. But see, this is how they're manipulating people. People are really loyally following the witnesses way more than they did when you were a witness, Zach. Seriously.
But Rick, yeah, but I was still one in 2008, and I attend every meeting. You know what I mean? Oh. I don't disagree with you that kind of article, they may make that kind of statement, but to say, I could never say that if I were a witness and they told me to kill myself, I would have killed myself. That is a long stretch.
Do you believe there are some witnesses, even back when you were a witness, that would have done it?
No.
You don't know of anyone that would have ever done that?
If they would have said, kill yourself?
Well, they're not going to come out and say, kill yourself, but they're going to say in a nice, subtle way, kind of like all of these doomsday cults do, that, Jehovah is coming forward and his day of reckoning is near, and he feels it's necessary that we will not be here when the big A hits. Well, whatever they would say, they could word it in such a way. There's witnesses that would do it, Zach.
Rick, the witness doctrine is that there will be a great crowd of people who survive Armageddon. So the witness doctrine is always about never dying. You can live forever in paradise on earth. That's the witness doctrine.
Yeah, they're saying it after you're resurrected.
I just can't, Debbie, I just can't go to if they say kill yourself.
Look, my mom died. Look, my mother died because of that, okay? So I know damn well they do.
Debbie, did your mother use her hand to take her life?
Go ahead.
Talking to?
Go ahead.
knew that. Whoever said that their mother died because of that, did the person whose mother died because of that, did she use her hand to take her life?
She refused treatment and asked to be flown to a non-blood hospital that would take her. And because of that, they wouldn't give her blood and she died.
I acknowledge. I did that right away when I came on.
She made the choice. She didn't have to die. That's committing suicide. And I tried to kill myself multiple times because the witnesses told me not to go to a psychiatrist.
But they didn't tell you to kill yourself. And your mother,
Exactly.
Medical treatment.
Just one more thing, and I'll give you guys the floor. I'll give you the floor. When I first came on, I did acknowledge that witnesses will not take blood, even if it does threaten their life. That's their doctrine. They will not take blood. But I'm talking about the kind of killing where one uses one's own hand to take his life because someone told them to. That's all.
Right.
That's
right.
all.
And Zach, nobody said that, Zach. Nobody was on there saying Watchtower's going to tell you to stab you, but you. I mean, nobody. They had mentioned Kool-Aid. The point I was making, Zach, was
I thought you said that if they told you to kill yourself, you would kill yourself.
No, I said I don't know that I would have. I'm just saying they have that much control. I said this. I said a lady friend of mine told me, Dan, if the Watchtower told you to wear brown, because I told her I wasn't under mind control. And she said, if the Watchtower told you to wear brown, would you? And I said, no, what are you talking about? And I kind of laughed. But then when I went home, I said, yes, the Watchtower, and you know this, Zach, the Watchtower and governing body are active mediums between us and Jehovah. You know that. You got to agree to that. They are playing medium. They hear Jehovah's voice. They're the mediator. And they read the Bible for us. They interpret it for us. So what I'm saying, Zach, is they're so powerful that we're under their authority. You know what I'm saying? They don't have total authority, Zach. They don't have total authority. Yeah, if they told you to stab yourself or something, I think people wouldn't go for it.
Okay. I'm glad I understand now.
If they told you to take a pill, if they told you to take a pill, you might really do it.
I want to answer
and that's killing yourself. If you took a pill and they told you to take it, you might really do that. Guess what? You're telling people to take the jab, and people are doing it.
I just want to.
You won't let anyone else talk.
I want to talk about what Dan Clark. What Dan Clark just said about colors. Back in the 60s, I agree with you that they have had something to say about the colors that you wear, because they used to have the Awake magazines that talked about loud colors, not wearing loud colors. So, because I guess back then people were wearing loud colors. You know, it was a fad thing where you wore lime with pink and, you know, just these bright colors. And they did have an article that I think they had several articles that talked about wearing loud colors. Yeah. But this other idea about killing yourself, I'm going to mute myself because I can see that it's going to go way off. Okay? Or I don't mean something that way. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's not as severe as dying from not taking blood, but it still has can have the similar results. Figuratively, they kill themselves whenever they shun their family. I've got a daughter that shuns her mama, her daddy, her sisters, her aunt, and so figuratively, she basically killed herself, or we're dead to her. She's killed us because can't talk to her at all. And that's so many listeners out there are experiencing the very same thing.
Yes.
So I would have never thought that people would do that. They get so much of this brainwash that they would do about anything that they're told to do.
I agree with that. The thing I was having a difficulty with is saying that if they told me to kill myself, I would kill myself. That's the only thing I had a problem with. Okay?
Right.
All right. I'm going to mute myself.
What can I ask you? I'll be.
Thank you,
One thing that I also served my dear father when he was living was that Heaven's Gate group that had Applewhite in it, and their whole team committed suicide. And then when I saw Stephen Lett on camera, all I could think of was that dictatorial, evil Applewhite and that story.
Yeah, well, no, you go ahead, Debbie, go ahead. Finish up what you want to say, Debbie. Go ahead.
I won't yell. I was just gonna say, do you really think you would sacrifice your child? Because they have when you're at the hospital, they send a liaison committee that goes to anybody in the hospital that might need surgery and blood. And they follow you everywhere. I was a single mom. I couldn't even go to the bathroom without them standing at the freaking door. And they put.
I requested a meeting with the surgical team to deflect the fact that those window washers called elders were standing over my mother's bedside, and I had at that time all paperwork for her financial and medical. And so I went to the nurses station and said, may I please have a quick meeting with the anesthesiologist or someone on the team. And in so doing, my mother lived a good 5 years more, maybe 6 or 7 years more. And I told him, I said, I don't know if she'll need blood. I hope she doesn't. Please use the gold standard of care. I said, but I'm not a physician, and you are one of the top physicians to be an anesthesiologist. So I have to trust you and your team. And when I did that, there was nothing the elders could do.
All right, we got some new people who want to come in here. So let's let them come in. We got Montreal, Canada. We've got a number of new people who want to speak up, and we'll get back to everybody else. So Montreal, we've got New York City. Go ahead, you're on with us. Speak up.
Hey, just like what I can't remember her name, but she was saying with her mother. Like when my mother was in the hospital and I was her guardian, I saw she had a little procedure done. Excuse me, and I signed for her to get blood. Now, very interesting that I have to say the sister did come and visit her in the hospital, but the day I gave permission to get blood, the sisters came to visit her, and they saw the blood going in her arm, and they proceeded to go to the elder and tell them that they saw their dear sister in the hospital getting blood, and I did get a call from the elder. And which I proceeded to call the elder, and I won't use the language here, but the language that I used for him, to tell him that this is my mother, I am her guardian, I have the right for all her medical treatment, then that's, that was it. And I will not use the language here that I used to explain it to him. But which is funny is he didn't hold it against me, because when she did finally pass, he came to her memorial. I didn't have it at the hall. I had it at a funeral home, and he and his wife, they were quite friendly to me. They weren't like you would say, oh, I'm not saying anything to her like that. Because his wife and himself, they were good friends with my mother. They went to her house for lunch and everything, but he was an elder. He called me with the BS that, oh, how could you do that, this, that, and the other. I called him, and I will not use the language that's saying that is my mother and basically mind your blank, blank business. But at her memorial, it was like, oh, everything's fine and dandy. He didn't, act like he would think the regular elder would, oh, I'm not talking to her. Her mother died. But I don't put up with that. My mother, I am the one that, you don't tell me what to do. You do not tell people what to do with their mother's care if you are the one in charge. That is totally wrong, whatever religion, and they know it.
Well, I'm with you. I'm with you, Shirley. Good comment. Thank you very much. We've got Annie from Montreal. Annie, you want to come in? Go ahead. The coast is clear. Come on in right now, Annie. Annie from Montreal. She was trying to get through. That's good. Okay, well, we'll get it back later. Well, no, thank you guys for all commenting. Some really, really good comments. I appreciate all you guys commenting on that. But
Hey, Rick?
Yes, Dan.
Yeah, I just wanted to make one more thought. As far as blood, I knew a witness guy who was an anesthesiologist, just like who was just on there a minute ago. And he told me, he said, Dan, blood is the last thing we give a person. He said, we know it's dirty. We know it, it's contaminated, but he said, we will give blood to save a life. And I was like, wow. And so he's like, we just don't pump blood into people for no reason. It's absolutely to save a life. But going back to what Zach said, I wanted to just say this, Rick. Can you imagine there's an accident, your baby gets sucked up underneath the dash of the car. They rush him to the hospital. Now, I have seen this on 2020, where they're rushing a guy in, and the guy's screaming, no blood, no blood, no blood. And the doctor's drinking his coffee, and he puts it down, and he picks it back up and says, he'll be dead in 20 minutes. And they roll him back by, and they said, oh, he's a Jehovah's Witness. They roll him back by in a body bag. Now, think about this, Rick. What if it was a baby? You go to the hospital, he's under the car, they go in there, and they're working on him, right? And he's in there dying, and the parents are there praying. And you're filming this, and you've got two blood liaison outside the door. I mean, can you imagine if the world actually saw what goes on in a hospital, that a baby was dying? I know, and what's sad is, Rick, what's so sad about all this is when you actually read that about the blood and the circumcision, and the Jews were preaching circumcision, they crossed over into Gentiles, and they were eating, they weren't draining the blood properly, and they were stumbling the Jews, and the Jews were preaching circumcision. So it said a dispute broke out. And they went to the older men, and the older men said this: for the sake of stumbling your brother, abstain from circumcision, be circumcised to the heart and single focused on God. And then he told the Gentiles, abstain from food sacrificed to idols and from blood. And then he says, farewell to you. 25 Bibles say farewell. The Witnesses is the only Bible that says good health to you. And if I'm wrong, somebody come on here and prove it. Prove it that the Witness Bible is the only one that says good health to you. The dispute was over and they said farewell. So it was more about that. It wasn't about saving lives. That was the very first assignment a lady had me do. She came over with her son, and they acted the whole thing out. The Jews preaching circumcision, and it was the most beautiful thing. And she said, can you believe that this really isn't about blood to save your life? And I just fell back in my chair, and I go, oh, my God, look at all these people dying. And so, yes, they will do whatever. I'm saying it's not going to be like Zach said, somebody stab you or give you a thing of Kool-Aid. It isn't going to be like that. But already, if somebody could visualize it, if people in the world actually knew that they had people standing outside the door, guarding the door to your room, they would freak out. That's all I want to say, Rick. It's like they're already doing it. Like Angela said, they're already doing it. The Watchtower is the medium. The governing body is the medium. I used to laugh. I want to say one last thing. I used to laugh, Rick. I used to watch the Moonies out there, and they were passing out flowers in the middle of the road. And I used to laugh my ass off. I said, look at those Moonies. Look at those fools. They're out there passing out flyers and giving all their money to somebody in the organization, right? And then I looked at my bag, and here we are in suit and tie with their own little magazines that we were marching and getting money for and given to Watchtower. We were no different than the Moonies. We're no different than any of these other people that are serving men, that are playing God. And these guys are playing God, Rick. They are playing God hardball. Angela wants to say something.
It's because, you guys, honestly, if they said take a pill and you don't really know what it is, but we need you guys to take this pill, I think some people absolutely would. And that's kind of what Dan means by would you kill yourself? Like, if they ask you to take a pill, would you? Well, guess what? Now they have pills now for the COVID thing. So for me, I know we don't all agree on this, but for me anyway, I think that the Witnesses are telling people to go ahead and take the shot if they tell you to take the pill, would you? And then my way of looking at it, that's a death sentence. And so guess what? We're already obeying. And if they said take the pill, which now there's a pill now they've come out with that we can take. So if they tell you to take that, will we? Yes, as witnesses. So yeah, no, we're doing exactly as Dan said.
Yep, and remember Malawi. Okay. Never forget Malawi. 1975, 25-cent card.
Yep.
All they had to do, Watchtower let them get genocided. Their heads whacked off. The brothers gave their life. I forget what they call them, the martyrs in Malawi. You know, and then they came out later. I forget, it was in the questions from readers. It said voting was a conscious matter. You know, these are mediums, man. Anyway, Rick, that's it.
All right, we got some others here. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Angie. We got some others that want to come in. We got Montreal. We got a number of states that want to come in. So why don't you come in, Montreal? I've been trying to come in now for a while. Go ahead. Go ahead, Annie. You're on with us. Go ahead, Annie. I know you've been trying to get in here. Lots of people calling in tonight. Go ahead, Annie.
Yeah, hi. Thank you. I simply wanted to mention, a couple of things. My mother, many years ago, before she passed, had broken her hip and she was at a hospital. They had given her blood, but she didn't, at the time, they didn't have this hospital liaison committee, thankfully. And I'll never forget the terror on her face when, you know, she said, oh, I think they gave me blood and I don't want to die. And so I just told her, I said, no, they didn't give you blood, you know, even though I think they did. So I just remember the look on her face, and it really made me really sad. And I bet you there's a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses who don't want to die. They simply are following what the governing body is telling them. It's not just indoctrination, it's coercion, I believe. And also I wanted to mention that I read somewhere that the number of Jehovah's Witnesses that have died from not taking blood is greater. I don't know the exact number, but probably thousands, if not more, than the people that died at Jonestown. So I found that quite interesting.
Oh, no, that's very interesting. Very interesting. Now, one other thing, Annie, do you think, I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot, but do you think that there are some Jehovah's Witnesses that would deliberately die at their own hand if the governing body came out and said to do it?
I think there might be some, yeah, because there's always going to be some diehards who will just follow blindly. But I think maybe not so much anymore because there's too much information out there now.
Well, there you go.
I think that generally speaking, we have too much information now on the subject, and I would hope not, anyway.
Well, there you go. Well, Annie, always good to hear from you. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we've got Oklahoma.
If they ever do come out with new lights to tell them to do that, Rick, I'm sure that's going to include, the new light's going to include, be sure to have your will in order before you do it.
Well, you're right, Randy. So, Randy, what do you think? I mean, you've been a witness for a while. You're out of it now, but do you think there are some witnesses you knew or you know?
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, you know, here's the thing: for a lot of the people that's out now, they say, "Oh, nobody would ever do that." Just if they could picture themselves living back years and years ago before the blood doctrine come along, or even the blood before it's flip flop like it has, and somebody would say, "Oh, there's going to come a time, there's going to be some new light, and we won't take blood even if you have to die." I'm sure a lot of the current witnesses would say, "No, I would never do that. I would never do that." And looky here, it's happened. You know, it's just, you know, a lot of people that's never seen something happen, they just can't believe. They call that the 80-year cycle. You know, they can't believe that it could happen. Like, I'm scared to death someday there may be a civil war, but most people think, "Oh, that'll never happen." And the reason why, because they've never seen it with their own eyes. So, you know, I think if they told them to kill themselves, there'd be a lot of them that would. And I hope my daughter's not one of them, but you know, she, like I say, she's already listened to them this far, so I never would have thought she would have. So who's to say? I mean, I never would have thought.
I know personally there's witnesses that would. There's now not all, but there are witnesses that would. Okay, we've got Oklahoma. Chewy, yes, from Oklahoma. Yes, Chewy.
Yeah, well, I just got in on a little bit of it, and I walked in, and then I had to put my phone down, and I came back. But when you think about it, killing themselves, that's what they do when they don't take blood. You know?
Yeah, come a little closer to your phone, Chewy, so we can hear it a little better. Yep.
Yeah, well, you know, when you think about a witness killing themselves, oh, no, they're not going to do that. But when they don't accept blood, that's basically what they're doing. Who's saying that? Who's saying that? Governing bodies saying that.
Yeah.
And then they don't take blood and they die. They're doing it right there.
We can draw a parallel to that, and I do that. There's some that don't think that parallel is equal. They seem there's two different ways, two different directions the witnesses go in with that. But nonetheless, it's tantamount to the same. You die. You give your life up. Yeah. Thank you, Chewy. Thank you very much.
Hey,
yes.
This is Miss Q from can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Miss Q?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you seen the new release movie Silent Night that was just released in December of 2021?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so I mean, it's just come out. I just saw about 2 weeks ago, and when I saw it, I said, "Oh my gosh!" So just not to spoil it, but what it is it's a group of friends that decide to spend the holidays come together just to say their goodbyes because there's supposed to be like an impending gloom that's coming over, like an acid storm, and they think they're all going to die, so they're supposed to take this pill to avoid that harsh death. So, I mean, but that was like a really eye-opening as well because, I mean, it could come in any kind of form to tell you, hey, something is coming, so you need to take this pill so you or your loved ones don't suffer.
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of made me think, right? Because there's like all these subliminal things that, you know, I mean, I just kind of realized, you know, there was a lot of subliminal messages. They kind of train you to think a certain way without really spelling it out. So then there's no way, and they're not going to come and tell you to kill yourself, but there's going to be always a scenario of some kind. But that movie was very, very eye-opening of what can happen or what pretends they can tell you that you do need to take a pill for some reason.
Well, let me ask you. Let me ask you, Lady Q. Do you know of any witnesses? Do you think there's some witnesses that would take the pill?
I think so because remember the fear mongering as well, but also because your faith is not strong enough. If you don't take the pill, then you're not strong enough. Your faith is not strong enough. So they always try to put you at a light where you're weak anyway. But at the same time, they always try to say, well, you're gonna be resurrected anyway for prove your faith. So yes, I believe more than majority will do it.
Well, there you go. Thank you for chiming in on us. All right.
Thank you.
We got one more. We got New York City. Come on down, New York City. All right. Well, let's move on here. We were talking. I mean, this whole thing got derailed, but that's good. That's good. Okay. We were talking basically about the January 2022 Watchtower and how they are saying get hatred out of your mind. But yet at the same time, the Watchtower is such a hate group, it's not even funny. So we talked a little bit about that. They had a lot to say about, don't hate people. But who hates people more than other people? Jehovah's Witnesses. I don't know anybody other than the Aryan Nation, other than the Ku Klux Klan. I have to put them in the same ballgame, really. Now, can you imagine an organization that actually professes to be Christians but has some of the most heinous hate crimes in the world? Well, I mean, Jehovah's Witnesses, Islam, even the Amish people, they also shun, so that's bad. They also hate people because when people leave, they hate them. So do you know of any other religions? Well, those are probably a few. There's a few others, I'm sure. But Jehovah's Witnesses is such an organization that it could be considered a hate group without any question of a doubt. And I'm gonna give you some things that I know that the Watchtower enforces policies to deny all loyal associates to speak with family members and relatives and friends who have been disfellowshipped from the so-called truth. Now, expelled and disfellowshipped, Watchtower provides its followers with instructions on how to deal with disfellowshipped ones, not even to say hello to them, to hate them. That's what the Watchtower does. It encourages them to hate. Much of the Watchtower Society literature is tantamount to spiritual pornography. Clearly defined inflammatory instructions encouraging Jehovah's Witnesses to hate other people. It's an ongoing malicious campaign of hate. That's where the Jehovah's Witnesses are. It's an us versus them attitude. It's clearly seen within this quasi-religious spiritual supremacist group. That's what it is. It's not a real Christian group. Members believe in the superiority of their religion over all other religions. That's Jehovah's Witness. And when you have an arena like this of spiritual elitism, spiritual lynching runs rampant. Yes, a continuous condemning of all other faiths is readily seen. Yes, they do. The Watchtower members display unrestrained and overt hatred. This clearly makes Jehovah's Witnesses an easy, recognizable hate group. Other organizations participating and engaged in enforced hatred include the Aryan Nation, the Ku Klux Klan, and radical Islamic groups. So the Watchtower is part of all of them. Go ahead. Who wants to come in? You're coming in from Toronto, Canada. Go ahead.
Hey there, Rick. How's it going?
I'm cranking away at it.
Oh, that's good. I might as well introduce myself to you. I feel comfortable giving my name out. It's Braden.
Braden. All right, Braden.
All right. What I wanted to touch on, your last stream last Saturday, when you were talking about like the child abuse and everything going on in that, like people don't have a concept of, unless they've been through it themselves, of, you know, just how bad child abuse is. One of my sister's friends rather, she is 33 years old and she cannot be hugged or touched or even, you know, being too close to her. And yeah, the individual who did this, he served quite a lengthy prison sentence, but she got a life sentence. You know what I mean? And it's like they will accept this guy back into the congregation so readily, despite doing something that ruins somebody else's life, and they're more willing to forgive the perpetrator of the crime than
Well, I think Braden left our scene here. I'm not sure what happened. Somehow maybe his phone dropped off or whatever. I would like to hear what he had to say, but maybe he'll call back in. We'll give him some time to call back in. But yeah, I have to continue on this idea that the Watchtower is a hatred organization. It's a dangerous and destructive atmosphere. It does enormous damage to society. Seriously. Former Jehovah's Witnesses who attempt to expose these dangers and destructive tactics of the Watchtower Society are labeled apostates. We all know that, right? And Watchtower leaders falsely accuse us, those leaving the Watchtower, to be on Satan's side. Yeah, that's what we are. We're agents of Satan, the devil. Jehovah's Witnesses hate apostates more than they do a murderer, a pedophile. They're even frightened to look at one of the apostates. I've walked through the supermarket, and I've actually remember an elder that would hide behind the produce bin. I walked into the market basket, and he hid behind it. He didn't even want to see me. It was like I was Satan, the devil incarnate. So, you know, I mean, let's face it. I'm gonna read you something here. I think it's very fascinating. Now here they have this article, Watchtower 2022, brand new edition here of the Watchtower this month. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to share this with you. If you're on YouTube, I believe you can see it. I'm going to read just so that you'll get a little idea of right out of the Watchtower on how here they are saying that they want people to love one another and not show hatred in this article. But take a look at some of the articles in the past and take a look at some of the things they said. Now, notice this, Jehovah's Witnesses. Let me read this right from the Watchtower. This is the Watchtower. It would be October 1st, page 93. It'd be October 1st, 1993, page 19. Now, listen what they have to say here. Apostasy is in reality a rebellion against Jehovah. Some apostates profess to know and serve God, but they reject teachings or requirements set out in his word. Others claim to believe the Bible, but they reject Jehovah's organization and actively try to hinder its work. When they deliberately choose such badness after knowing what is right, when the badness becomes so ingrained that it is an inseparable part of their makeup, then a Christian must hate, in the biblical sense of the word, those who have inseparably attached themselves to the badness. Did you get that? A Christian, saying the witnesses, must hate those who separate themselves from the Watchtower. And here they are, the Watchtower here in January 2022, saying how hatred is bad and people shouldn't hate one another. But here we are, we have articles here in the Watchtower suggesting just the opposite. To take a look at this one. The same thing. It says Jesus. Now this one here, let me give you this. Let me tell you where this one's from. This Watchtower article is July 15th, 1961, page 420. It says Jesus encouraged his followers to love their enemies, but God's word also says to hate what is bad. When a person persists in a way of badness after knowing what is right, when the bad becomes so ingrained in that is an inseparable part of his makeup, then in order to hate what is bad, a Christian must hate the person. Now, right there, hate the person, not hate what the person's doing. Not hate what the person's doing, but hate the person. So there you have it. I mean, I could go on with more and more and more articles showing to hate, but here the Watchtower comes out this month. Watchtower comes out this month, January 2022, with an article all about hatred and how we must not show hatred. Does that make sense to you? It certainly doesn't make sense to me. Okay, you're on 6 screens. Who wants to speak up? You're on with us right now.
Mr. Fearon?
Yes, go ahead, Michigan. Yes.
If the Watchtower Society is a loving Christian organization, I wonder what a hate group is like. So if somebody has that answer, well, no, never mind. I think I can find that answer myself. What I want to comment on is the Christianity teaches that they have a God of love and a God that desires that nobody will be destroyed but come into salvation, or some words to that effect. Watchtower does not teach that. They teach that the vast majority of people is going to be killed at Armageddon, but only a small minority of people, them, is going to survive and so forth. That's totally and absolutely nonsense. And then not only that, they're turning around and they're sitting in the judgment seat with their tribunals, whatever they call them there, their judges, 3 judges, or 3 stooges, more or less. And they're sitting in the judgment seat, but Christianity teaches that you're not to judge somebody else, lest you be judged, and so forth. So they don't practice that stuff, and other Christian organizations do, and so forth. So it's really preposterous what they're teaching and all that. And as far as there was a lot of conversation here about if the Watchtower Society asked, somebody to kill themselves and everything like that. I believe, that they're capable of doing it. I believe that the damage would be a lot less than it would be in the 70s and so forth. But yeah, you don't know what they're capable of, and you don't know what they're going to do next. So yeah, they're a very dangerous and destructive organization.
Well, thank you, Ken. Thank you. Thank you. Go ahead.
Can I say something?
Go ahead, Debbie.
Yeah, go ahead, caller.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. About these vaccinations, what they call a vaccination. The elder that contacted me the last time trying to get me to come back told me that they were requiring everybody get the shot. Everybody, all their witnesses. And if they didn't obey, this is the first time we have to obey the authorities. They are in charge. They tell us what to do. And if we disobey them, then we're disobeying Jehovah. That's what they told me. And he said it's going to be a disfellowshipping event if everybody doesn't start going along with that. So there's going to be a whole lot more people kicked out of the organization unless they cooperate with the government now, like they've actually cared about it before.
Well, I don't know why the Watchtower is so connected with the government. They never were when I was a witness. I got out back in 2000.
No, they weren't when I was a witness. And that's what I'm saying. They weren't when I was a witness either. What do they care now for?
Well, the only thing I can think of, Debbie, is they smell money. They really do. The government right now is handing out all of these COVID test kits. Now, the Watchtower, I'm not saying that religions are making money for handling of those kits and giving them to the people in the congregations. I don't think the witnesses are making money on it. But I do know with the food boxes 2 summers ago, the witnesses stood to make some money on that. The government was paying for distribution of those boxes, and I believe the Watchtower made some money on that. But let's just go with this way of thinking. The Watchtower is encouraging the witnesses now to get their test. They're saying to family members to make sure you get your test from the government. But the way the witness is looking at it is it's really not coming from the government. It's coming from Jehovah God. Isn't Jehovah blessing us and letting us be able to get these kits, these test kits for free? That's the way they're looking at it. And they're hoping that some of the witnesses will have some generosity and some kind thoughts of the Watchtower, like, hey, we'll throw some money toward the Watchtower. The more they can pander to people, the more they can make people think they're helping them, the more people will dig into their pockets and say, hey, let's give a little more money to the Watchtower this month. So that's how it all works. It really, really does. It's disgusting what the Watchtower gets away with. And even, I don't know if you guys have been realizing it or not, but I mean, we know there's so many people right now leaving the Watchtower, right? So many elders are stepping down, ministerial servants. They're having a hard time getting men to even fulfill the positions of these servants. And no wonder why. Many people are now finding out how fraudulent, how deceptive the Watchtower organization is. And there's a lot of elders stepping down right now because of what the Watchtower is always suggesting and making themselves look so pious when it comes to disaster relief. Yes, elders stepping down left and right. They're seeing the scam that's taking place with disaster relief. The Watchtower on their website, jw.org, they show pictures of them flying food and products into these disaster areas and how the Watchtower is there to help them, showing trucks with Watchtower logo on the side. But, most of this money, and a good part of it, from what we understand, comes from the local congregations. I remember when I lived in Florida, and for Hurricane Andrew, for example, it was the local congregations were to put food in a bag and money and bring it to the assembly hall in Plant City, which I did. And, all the witnesses were doing that. That wasn't coming from the organization. That was coming from local congregations. And then they would send it off, and the Watchtower would certainly take the credit for it all. But the elders are starting to see this. Many are stepping down, and they're seeing what a scam it is. So just to give you an idea, when there's like a disaster, a hurricane, a flood, course, Watchtower Relief comes to the rescue. So the witnesses, on their own dime, they travel to these areas that have been hard hit, and they work on their own dime, pay their own expenses. In fact, what they do is they put a lot of time in for the Watchtower, not charging Watchtower a penny, but yet Watchtower wants to collect insurance money. And we read it a few weeks ago, the disaster relief directive from the organization, and how the elders are to handle disaster relief. The first thing they do is, when they go into a disaster zone, is they find the people that are more qualified to get relief. Those would be people with money, or those would be people with insurance. And these are the first houses that they would begin to repair, because they know they're going to get paid back some way or another. And the people that don't have any money, though, those would have to be far down on the list. And the elders are starting to see this scam. They're starting to see it. And then what happens is, when they repair the project, now these are all Jehovah's Witnesses working labor-free, no money charged to the Watchtower, but the Watchtower will collect the insurance money. Suppose you had a roof, and the roof was $7,000. When you get your insurance check, you give the $7,000 to Watchtower. So, oh my goodness, they're making out like bandits. And yet the poor people that even drove down thousands of miles don't even get a dime for their mileage. So what do you think of that? It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Well, you're on JW World News. You want to speak up? Now's the time to do it. So what would you like to say? All right. Well, we'll move on. If no one wants to say anything, we got the people coming in. You're into the brief.
I want to say something.
Go ahead. Yep.
Doesn't it seem that, I mean, it's obvious to me, anyone who's pro-vaccine mandate is, whether they know it or not, is spiritually aligned with Satan. And the fact that the Watchtower, like the lady just mentioned, that the elder said that the vaccine mandates, they would get the fellowship and go along with it. The fact that the Watchtower will implement this in the future just proves that they are a satanic organization. And where I live, I don't, if you don't have the vaccine, you can't even go to the movie theater. And this, to me, is the beginning of building the infrastructure for the mark of the beast in Revelation, in the book of Revelation. And so the Watchtower is acting just as they would, because we all know that they're who their father is, and it's the devil, obviously. Yeah, just my 2 cents.
Well, no, I appreciate your thoughts. Now, where are you calling in from, brother?
I'm in Puerto Rico.
Oh, Puerto Rico. Yeah, I noticed, because it's got some funny numbers coming through. Well, that's good. Well, I'm glad you called in. I'm glad you're tuning into the 6 Screens. I think this is your first time on, right?
I called in like 4 years ago when you had Smurf Girl on.
Oh yeah.
And I wanted to thank you too, because of your radio show, that actually led to me becoming a born again Christian and dropping all of their doctrine. So thank you for hosting the 6 Screens.
Well, gee, that makes me very, very happy. I'm thankful, and I thank God you became a Christian. Good for you. Good for you. You didn't head in the opposite direction. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for checking in here tonight. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Hey, Rick.
Yes, go ahead.
Hey, Rick.
Yes, Jeff.
Yeah, they're talking about not hating, and what is shunning? I mean, that's hate.
I don't know what else you'd call it. I mean,
I mean, that's what I call it. I call it pure hate. Okay. And then that's kind of a human rights violation, I think, as far as encouraging an organization and encouraging, their members to hate others for some, dumb reason like they do, and that's it's just it's hate, pure.
Yeah, I mean, they don't, shunning, I would say shunning could be defined as hatred toward another person, but the Watchtower does not use the word shunning. They prefer to use the word avoid. Yeah, they say they don't shun, they avoid. I mean, I think it's pretty similar, don't you, Jeff?
That's kind of a way around it, I guess. That's their way of getting around it. To say it ain't shunning now.
Well, these.
You know what's true?
Yeah.
when you were saying about the Watchtower that it says to hate people in the biblical sense, that makes no sense at all because Jesus said to love your enemies.
Right, right. So, but what they're working with there is in the book of Psalms, I believe. Yeah, Psalms. Psalm. They're saying that, you know, Jehovah hates those who hate him. But, you know, the thing that I've learned when I get out of the Watchtower, the word hate in English only has one connotation, one definition, and that is to just loathe, to just can't stand the person. To hate is a very disgusting word. But in Aramaic, in other languages, hate has many different definitions. For example, in Psalms, where it says to hate, you know, King David was the one that was suggesting this, that to hate those who hate Jehovah, you would hate them. But it means to love less, to love less. It's not the pure hatred like we have here in English. So, but they take that to the bank and really cash it. So they're saying that, you know, there it is right in Psalm, Jehovah says to hate those who hate him. But who is to be the judge? Why can the Watchtower be the judge and say that because we leave the Watchtower, we hate Jehovah? This is something I've always thought of myself. No, they are a hate organization, Radar. There's no question about it.
Hey, Rick.
Yes.
I'm an ex-elder, and just wanted to say, especially with the reconstruction of houses, when I used to work in the Caribbean, doing repairs on the homes, they would get a letter and telling them if you had a person coming in to do this work, you would have paid, example, $3,000 for the workers plus $4,000 for the merchandise. And that letter, they gave it to everybody in the Caribbean islands I went to. So sometimes the brothers would ask me, hey, buddy, why are we getting charged? And I says, well, it's just a society. And then for myself, here in the States, in North Carolina, the first thing that they ask you is, do you have insurance? Do you have house insurance? They want to make sure they make their money back out. Okay? So they're not really interested in helping anybody. All they're interested is in the money. I hope everybody has a great evening, okay?
Thank you very much for bringing that up, because that's exactly the truth. And it's not just Jehovah's Witnesses, but it's other organizations too that are pulling that scam off. They know darn well when these areas get hit by a really bad storm or whatever, that there's going to be a lot of damage. And a lot of these people have insurance, and they're gonna be able to get money from Allstate, Farmers, or whatever. And so they're taking advantage of that. So we'll help you, but are they really helping out of love? Can I imagine that the Red Cross or Billy Graham's Samaritan group, well, would they pull off a deal like that? Absolutely not. But this is why it's so disgusting to me and others. The Watchtower takes advantage of everything. And yet the witnesses...
It's a racket.
It is Jeff, why didn't you and I think of this? Jeez.
Yeah.
Jeez, it's, how do you get all these... This is masterful. This is masterful.
Get it quick, Rick.
Really? Well, when I stop and think about it, the witnesses there, they have 8.5 million people. They're all salespeople. The witnesses are all salespeople. They're promulgating the Jehovah's Witness organization, pushing their magazines, their publications, getting them on jw.org, all on their dime. How is that pulled off? Even General Motors and Walmart and all these big companies, they got to pay their employees. Watchtower gets their work for nothing. This is masterful. Someday, in the worlds of business annals, this will be made known how a religion pulled this off and made billions on the poor people. Terrible, terrible. Well,
labor-free, tax-free. It's a big corporation, and they got a racket, boy.
Boy, and then when it comes to, poking into their business and you guys are doing, well, we're religion. Leave us alone. We have freedom. We have the First Amendment. Jeez, these guys. But I'll tell you what, the good news is, Jeff, the rest of the world is catching up on these bums. I'm telling you. Norway, as we stand, they're catching up.
Them.
Yeah, that's it. And they know it. That's why they had to rebrand. Yeah. They know it.
Absolutely.
They know the world is catching up on these guys. And there's a lot leaving, but there's still a lot more in there that have a grade level 5 mentality. They're like 11-year-old kids. You don't know if the Easter Bunny is real or Santa Claus is real. But that's a lot of the witnesses have been dumbed down. They're like 11-year-olds, and they don't know what's real anymore. It's terrible. Terrible.
They need to do their research and stop drinking the Kool-Aid.
I'm with you. Boy, I'll tell you, Jeff, it's unbelievable. It's really...
They need to stop drinking, period, because there's more jokes with alcohol and seriously than there is publishers.
Well, Deb, I want you to think, Deb, now just stop and think about it. Well, what makes a person drink alcohol? I mean, you can have a few drinks here or there. It's not going to bother you. But what makes a person really become like an alcoholic? Well, what would you say is the reason behind that?
Anger and fear.
Yeah, disgruntled, maybe conscience bothering you. Something's going on in your life that's not right, so you hit the bottle. And you drink a little more than you have to, and it kind of makes you forget. But when you wake up out of the stupor, you still feel the same. But see, that's what's going on with the governing body. That's why Tony Morris probably is an alcoholic. I'm not going to say he is, but all indications would be that they really like their booze, buying $1,000 worth of scotch. I mean, let's get real. So, I mean, at that point, people would drink because they're trying to soothe their conscience. And, if you had a good, clean conscience and you were doing things right to your fellow man, you could go through life without really imbibing. You could go through life and feel good about yourself when you go to bed at night. But these guys can't sleep at night, I'm sure. They have to have a few drinks to get them asleep.
Rick, that's what I meant. They're angry at themselves that they're still afraid of being found out.
Yeah. Hey, we got another caller coming in here right now. Go ahead, caller from 170 area code. 170, you're on with us. Go ahead.
This is Elizabeth, and I'm saying that.
You're on. You're getting some echo there, sister. Can you on speakerphone? Just go on regular phone. It's good.
The name is Elizabeth, and a lot of people are like falling for the Kool-Aid.
You think so?
Yeah, like
Yeah, we got some echo going on. Go ahead. Yep.
Yeah, a lot of the Watchtower tries to make themselves look good, and then they just sort of fall for the.
Yeah, we got kind of a lousy connection there, sister. But no, so what would you like to say? What do you want to say to the audience? Go ahead.
Yeah, like.
You get some phone issues. I believe what it is I believe you're on a speakerphone or headphones or something. You got an echo going on. Yeah.
All right.
All right. I wish we could speak with you. My goodness, I'd like to hear what you have to say. Sorry, I wish we could say hello to you, but it's a little confusing with the sound on your phone. All right. Thank you. All right. Well, there you go. I mean, we got people want to call in, and in fact, always remember that when you come in, sometimes your speakerphone. I think what happens too is sometimes you got me on YouTube, or you got me on Facebook, and you got your phone on, and you got microphones, so you listen to Facebook and the phone at the same time. So if you do come on, get away from, if you're watching us on YouTube or on Facebook, get away from Facebook and go in the other room and talk on your phone. That's the best way to handle that. Wow, my goodness, we're still here. We're here at JW World News. We do it every Saturday night and every other Sunday. We'll be back tomorrow, by the way. We'll be back tomorrow on 6 Screen Sunday, beginning at 1 o'clock tomorrow. Now, what we do here on Saturday night, we never preach to you. All right, I'm a Christian man, and I follow Jesus' words, but I don't preach to you on Saturday night because I know it's not the place to do it. A lot of you people have been so hurt by the Watchtower, so spiritually abused, that you don't want anything to do with religion or God or the Bible. I understand it. There's many witnesses. It takes many years for them to reconnect because the Watchtower was so harmful to them. It created a spiritual abuse system. It caused a lot of problems for them. So what I'm saying here tonight is tomorrow we do have a 6-screen Sunday. We get into the theological teachings, Bible questions, all of that beginning tomorrow, 1 o'clock. So by all means, why don't you join us tomorrow? All right, we've got some more people coming in, and we got 197 area code. Go ahead, you're on with us.
Oh, yeah. I got a sister-in-law and brother-in-law from Minnesota that are the goofiest people I've ever met in my life. They're Jehovah's Witnesses. They don't believe a word we say.
Yeah, well, come on right close to your phone so we can hear you really good. So tell us what. So you got relatives that are witnesses?
Yeah, they're witnesses, and they're just hard to get along with. They argue with us, and if we don't go along with them, they hate us for 2-3 weeks, and then they come back, try and get us back. And what they're trying to do is get us to a boot-ass religion, and it ain't happening, you know.
Yeah, stay nice and close to your phone now so I can hear you good because this is very important.
They get mad when we talk about it. They get just serious. Well, we sent them your thing to have them watch, and we haven't heard from them since.
Well, I don't know. Maybe they thought that we were just old apostates and didn't join, but maybe they did. Who knows? They might even be listening in here tonight. So what are they trying to recruit you into the religion or what? All right. So, okay. So that's good. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. Thank you for
Hello?
I am here. Yep.
Okay. Hi.
Yeah. So that's good. Thank you for sharing the information with them. So you guys listening to the 6 screens, do you? What are you trying to find out in here?
Well, we're just trying to find out how we can change their, to get them out of this thing.
To
try and get them to change, get them to look at what they're in there in their cult.
Have they been there for quite a while or what?
30 years.
Now, are they close relatives or friends or what?
Yeah, they're close relatives. That's my brother-in-law and sister-in-law, and my wife is that's her sister. And I'm telling you, it's they just argue and fight and carry on, and they get mad, and then they come back, and then they get mad, and then it's ridiculous. I kind of laid my line out. I said I really don't want them around here ever again. You know?
Yeah.
That's how far it's gotten.
Well, it causes a lot of frustration for you.
It's real frustrating. I mean, unbelievable. And I'm not a hateful guy, but I've got to a point where I'll say I'm around them and it brings out some bad things to me.
Yeah, and every time you talk with them, I'm sure they're trying to recruit you. They're trying to love bomb you and get you to join them.
Yep, exactly. Or they won't look at the Bible. They will look at their Watchtower. They'll preach that Watchtower to you, but they really don't grab the Bible. Their Bible that they have, which they have their own Bible too.
Oh yeah. Well, isn't it very disappointing? It's very disappointing. It gets you so mad at times you don't know what to do, and you try to remain a gentleman, but you don't know what to say to these people. You can give them.
No,
you know.
They're crazy, but thanks for listening to me. I just I think they're the craziest people to walk the face of the earth, to tell you the truth.
Yeah. I mean, they're so loyal to the Watchtower. It's pathetic. I mean, they were talking on our program tonight. If the governing body of the Watchtower told them to take a pill to die, you think they'd do it?
Oh, yeah. And I can tell you something else I can't get at. He'll put a suit on just to go on the Zoom. He'll put a suit and tie on in his own living room and socks and dress up just to sit in front of that thing. It's like, my God, are you buffaloed?
Well, good for you, brother. Now, I mean, this is good you called in tonight. I really appreciate it because we get a different perspective. So you're just a relative, but you're so ticked off with these people. You're trying to talk some.
I'm tired of it.
Yeah, you can't talk sense to them. You really can't. It's like
you can't talk any sense.
No.
Can't talk, and I'm sorry to overtalk you too. I tell you, I'm so mad I don't want him around. And the way they treat my wife, she treats my wife very terribly. There's no Christianity there, believe me, you know. She tries to open her eyes, and we sent your stuff to her, and I mean, we've done a number of things, and it just doesn't work. They took the vaccine. Now, I shouldn't say anything, but I will say it. I feel this way. The vaccine's it's not a good thing, you know, and I don't think we're going to go to heaven taking that thing, but that's my opinion. I think it's the devil's, you know. But they made the Kingdom Hall a vaccine hall place. Now, let's come on. What is going on?
Did they do that out there in Minnesota? They actually had a Kingdom Hall where they had the vaccine.
Yes, they did.
Did they really? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we've been hearing about that, but you could get your vaccine at the Kingdom Hall. Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, I need you guys to say a prayer for them, too, because maybe someday they will change. You know, I would hope they would before the world comes to them, because I know where they're going if they don't get out of that.
Oh, well, no, we will. We'll pray for them. All of us Christian friends on here, pray for this man's relatives. My goodness, get them out of that crazy organization. Well, thank you for calling in from. Thank you for calling in from Minnesota. I really appreciate your presence. And don't be a stranger. Come back and talk to us.
I sure will. Thank you.
All righty, good. Then where we go. That's Minnesota. My goodness, he's not even a witness, but his friends or his relatives are witnesses, and he had enough. He had enough. I think we all had enough. I believe we all had enough of the Jehovah's Witnesses. These guys are getting under our skin. They really, really are. It's just unreal what they're doing, and they are getting more loyal. They are getting more crazy as the years go on. It's not the same as it was back in the 70s and 80s. I do believe there's many that would. If the governing body came out tomorrow and said, take the pill. Now, I'm not going to tell you a lot, Art. I'm not trying to in any way discourage Zachary. I'm not. I respect Zachary. He's a good man. But we just differ in opinion here. I believe there's many that would take the pill. I really, really do. Hey, you know, I came across a story that really got me thinking, and it's concerning the North Bronx Church of Christ. Well, I got a picture online that they were out in front of a Kingdom Hall that was just sold to them, and they were out there cutting a ribbon for their new church. So they bought a building from the Jehovah's Witnesses. I believe it's a Kingdom Hall. It looks like a Kingdom Hall. So they paid $1.5 million for the building to Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, this is the Church of Christ in the Bronx, New York, and that was in the paper this week. They put a down payment of $200,000 down to the Jehovah's Witnesses, and the final price is $1.5 million for the building. Very fascinating here. Very, very fascinating. So we see that the new pastor, who now is making a church out of the Kingdom Hall, he's so happy to be able to have a place to meet. They've been meeting in, you know, anywhere they could rent a facility, but they were saying some of these facilities were so worldly that it wasn't right. They didn't feel right having Christian services when people were dancing and discoing and drinking and partying. So they just bought the Kingdom Hall of this building from Jehovah's Witnesses to now have their new church. But what I found interesting here is here we have the new church in the Bronx. And if you walked into it, you'd find all kinds of boxes of relief items, clothing, food, water. It's all stacked up in the auditorium of the church. It's waiting to be delivered to the victims of the recent Bronx apartment fire, which killed 19 people and injured 44. So the point I'm trying to make here, would you ever walk into a Kingdom Hall and find food and water and blankets for something that just happened in the community? You never would. But here's the Kingdom Hall now turned into a real church where real church members want to help people in the community. What a difference in the Kingdom Hall, seriously. But the point that what I really extracted out of this is the Jehovah's Witnesses, they'll sell a church to anybody. They'll sell one of the Kingdom Halls to anybody. So here we have the Church of Christ The North Bronx Church of Christ buying a Kingdom Hall from the Jehovah's Witnesses in the Bronx and making a real church out of it. And, what about the Jehovah's Witnesses? And I'll stop and think about this. Didn't they dedicate that building to Jehovah? And now they have the Church of Christ coming in and occupying the building. Is that pleasing Jehovah, really? Think about it. No, because the Watchtower is all about money. It's all about money. It has nothing to do with whether it pleases Jehovah or not. So I wanted to bring that story up because this church now is a real church. It's a church that's going to help people, not a church that's going to hurt people. Very good. Well, you're on JW World News, the world news, the witness world all over the news all over the world. And we really appreciate you wanting to come in and be with us tonight and answering and speaking up. Another thought I came across, you guys might be aware of it or not. I think you would be. Let's talk about going back as a witness. I can remember. How did you like your steak? How did you like your steak? Yes. Did you like it well done? Well, many witnesses, that's how they would eat it, well done, because they thought there was blood in the steak. Did you ever encounter that as a witness? Yes, I did. And they were saying there's blood in a lot of things. Dairy Queen ice cream, wine, hot dogs. But I can remember a lot of the witnesses, they only wanted their steak well done because they knew that there wouldn't be blood in it. But even if it was well done, think about it. Wouldn't it just cook the blood? It's not sensible. But there's nothing made sense in the world of Jehovah's Witnesses. Hey, you're on with us. Go ahead.
Hey, Rick.
Yes.
Yeah, to your point about Jehovah's Witnesses selling off Kingdom Halls to Catholicism or Christianity, as you know, Rick, we went out to the Dracut Kingdom Hall at Dracut, Massachusetts. And that Kingdom Hall was dedicated to Jehovah God, and the dedication was by a governing body member who was one of the anointed. And now that Kingdom Hall has a big crucifix on it. To me, that's a lot like putting a golden calf inside of the holies of holy. It's just crazy.
Well, Dick, it is crazy. And I've been out there 3 times since I was out there with you. I'm still trying to connect with the pastor. He's never there. But from what we understand, Jehovah's Witnesses left some records behind, confidential records, in a file cabinet. And I'm willing to offer the pastor money for those file cabinets, but I can never find the pastor there. But he probably dumped them all by now. But I would have loved to have found those confidential files, Dick. That would have been wonderful, right?
It would have been.
Yeah, it would have been great. Yeah, so that's interesting you say that, but they're so willing to sell these churches off. And right here, $1.5 million this week, the Christ, well, it would have been the Church of Christ, Bronx Church of Christ. They bought a building. It was a Kingdom Hall. It looks just like a Kingdom Hall. I can't tell for sure, but it looks like a Kingdom Hall behind them. And here they are enjoying the benefits of that building. But yet that building was built for Jehovah's Witnesses. And that never made sense to me either. I know that they wouldn't let you work, at a church. They wouldn't let you even walk into a church. You could be disfellowshipped. But yet at the same time, they'll gladly sell one of their Kingdom Halls off to a church. Hey, it doesn't make sense. But how do you make sense out of nonsense, as we always say? So that's the way I feel about it. Well, it's so great to have all you guys on with us tonight. Lots of people coming in from all over the world, and we thank you very much for coming into JW World News tonight. Steak well done. I can remember people always, when I was a witness, they were always concerned about blood being in something or another. And, they'd go crazy over it. But the reason why I even bring this up is because of the vaccination. Now what I'm reading out of the Atlantic magazine, boy, this is another reason for Jehovah's Witnesses to abstain from blood. There was an article in the Atlantic magazine, and it had to do with the blood of horseshoe crabs, of all things. Horseshoe crabs. And actually, the horseshoe crab blood is being used every day, I guess, to test the drugs in the United States of America, including the vaccine. Now, I'm not sure how they do it. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a laboratory expert here. But according to the article, these horseshoe crabs, they've been around since the day of the dinosaur. And the horseshoe crab actually has blue blood. Its blood isn't red, its blood is blue. But they use the blood somehow, because of its makeup, to be able to test the vaccines to make sure that they would work. Somehow it's testing the blood and the antibodies. I can't tell you the reason. I'm not a scientist here, but the article was fascinating that this blood is used as a component in the everyday vaccination. Now, I don't know if the witnesses know this or not. I mean, but what I'm finding is now maybe the blood really isn't used in all of the testing, but some of those shots are tested with blood from this crab. So who would know which vaccination you're getting that might contain blood? That's the way I'm looking at it. I could be wrong with that, but evidently they do use it to test, some vaccinations, but not all. In other words, they do one test and it's good, let it go. But maybe they let one vaccination go that has blood in it. So if you're a Jehovah's Witness, I mean, you're willing to take that chance? But you can see the pressure. You can see the pressure that is put under the Jehovah's Witnesses. So I thought that was very, very fascinating. So, I mean, where are you going to stop with this blood issue? Where do you really stop with it? I mean, mother's milk has blood in it. I mean, we could talk about this all night. I'm not going to talk about it all night. But I wanted to bring this up because that's a new article that just appeared in the Atlantic magazine this week concerning the horseshoe crab and how vaccinations, the blood of the horseshoe crab is actually testing these vaccinations to see if they're going to work. Found that fascinating.
So Rick.
Yes.
Rick, are you saying that maybe? I think you're being a little bit. You're being a little bit of a cracker here, because you. The thing is, what you're trying to say is that maybe the vaccines have blood in them, right? Is that what you're getting at?
Right. In other words, we don't know. They take this blood, by the way. It sells for $15,000 a quart, and it's blue. And what it has in it, it has some type of chemicals, blood products, whatever you want to call it, that can test the vaccine to see if it's got the right potency or the right ingredients in order to be used as a vaccine. But now they would use the blood to test it. Now, once it's tested, fine, it's good, let it go. But, do they actually let that vaccine that was tested go and be sold through a drugstore? So a witness could be getting a vaccine with horseshoe blood in it.
Okay.
I mean, it's a shot.
I guess it's possible. I mean, the thing is, they're inconsistent anyway. Like, I don't know if you remember, I think one time we talked about this, maybe, I don't know if it was on Six Screens or not. I talked to somebody about, back in the 50s, they did have an article, somebody wrote in about whether or not you give your farm animal a blood transfusion.
Yeah.
And they said no. They said no, you couldn't. It sounds like you got some kind of a scammer there. Some guys making.
Yeah. Well, that happens all the time. I mean, they're getting them out now. Yeah.
But anyway, the thing is, I remember people being very, like, in fact, to be quite honest, I still don't really like, I don't think I would have liked it whether as a witness or not, too much blood pouring out on my plate from a rare steak. So I always had a medium rare steak. But, with the way it was hyped up with them. Now, it is fair to say, just to be fair to them, that of all the things that the quote-unquote governing body, which I guess it really wasn't a governing body, but what they call the governing body of the first century, when they did say abstain from blood, and in that case it was eating blood perhaps blood of idols. But the law, the Jewish law, said you had to bleed an animal properly. Now, of course, the only way to get all the blood out would be to run it through a wringer washer, and that wouldn't. They didn't have those back then. So the point is that you're right. Witnesses would be particularly squeamish about any blood in the steak. And I do remember these rumors that you're talking about. Oh, Dairy Queen has it. Rice Krispies has it, or whatever. They're all types of different rumors would come and go. So, but yeah, I guess that'd be something to foil up some witness conscience if they knew that, if they had a thought that maybe it had been tainted with blood. And of course, I guess the deal is the society is telling them to go ahead and have the shots, right?
Oh yeah, no, the society, the organization is really pushing. They're telling the witnesses to get this shot and then test yourself too. They're really pushing it, Brian. Yep.
Yeah. It's kind of funny. Sometimes they're rebellious against the government, but I guess actually it's a different crew now, as we've often said. Like you used to say it a lot a couple of years ago. This is not your grandfather's religion anymore. So they'll do just about anything to weasel around whatever they want to weasel around. So I guess that's the point you're making.
Yeah, well, the reason why I even brought that up, I mean, at one point they even, in one of the Watchtower articles, there was blood in the glue that put plywood together. In other words, in order to make plywood, they had to use a glue that was made evidently from horse blood or something along that line. But there was blood in it, and many of the witnesses would not even buy the plywood because it had blood in it. I mean, it's just crazy. But now I see that article.
I remember that now that you say that. Yeah, can you imagine if you're a really, really superstitious JW and say you're living in some house and you knew that they'd used a whole bunch of plywood in it? You'd be all worried and wondering if you're going to get a demon from the plywood, I guess.
Yeah.
It's crazy. You're right. Your whole point is they're crazy.
Well, could you imagine going into the Home Depot and saying, I need some plywood, but could you tell me, does this plywood have blood in it? I mean, that's how some witnesses would ask that, I'm sure. But this horseshoe crab, you watch in the witness world now. This horseshoe crab will be spinning around all over the place. You watch.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to watch.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wrote
Thanks.
a letter to the candy bar factory that made Baby Ruth to ask them if they had blood in theirs.
Oh, that's right, Andy. Hershey bars too. We heard all of that. Oh boy.
I got an answer back from them too. They said they used to use it as filler, but they quit.
Yeah. That's crazy.
They said you could only eat Oscar Mayer hot dogs, and that's the only ones we ever were allowed to eat was Oscar Mayer.
Yeah, we do remember that too, Debbie. Okay, we've got 190. Let's come on in. We got 190 area code. Go ahead.
I was just wondering if you remember, you couldn't even use ox blood fertilizer on your tomatoes or your rose plants. So it even went into the fertilizer. You couldn't use certain fertilizers that had blood in it.
You're absolutely right, sister. As a matter of fact, even there were some questions to the readers in the Watchtower that some pet food had blood in it. So they were saying, could I feed my cat pet food that had blood in it? And the Watchtower said no. But I mean, geez, a pet cat, they would eat a rat, they'd eat a rabbit, they would eat anything. And yet, wouldn't that be blood?
Well, also, I remember my mother got rid of all her aluminum pans because the Watchtower had said that aluminum, I don't know if anybody remembers their mothers throwing out all the pans and going into stainless steel and, of course, your heavy metal pans. But, you could use aluminum.
Well, you're right. I remember that too, aluminum. Yep. Okay, we've got time for one more. Debbie, go ahead. Then we're going to have to roll on here. We got Reese coming on. So go ahead, Debbie. What do you want to say?
No, I was agreeing with her about the aluminum. That you remember how they were. Do you remember how the witnesses got into every multi-level marketing? Of course, they didn't call it that, but they were in Amway, Melaleuca, Herbalife, the pots and pans, like she's talking about. My mom threw out all of our aluminum anything, and this was in the 70s or 80s,
60s.
and
I think it was
they bought a set of cookware that was over $500. But then they said it was waterless cookware, and they would invite a whole big group of witnesses, and then anybody and rainbow vacuum cleaners. They sold that. Well, that's what my parents in Slender now. They would invite a whole group of witnesses over for dinner. That's what they thought they were coming for, was dinner. And then they would show them how you could cook a meal in much less time with waterless cookware. And then everybody put on the spot, you know. And while I'm on here, I want to apologize to Zachary because I was really, I'm really sensitive when it comes to the blood thing. And I remember my mom saying, they said you could take fractions of blood, but I don't know what fraction is. So I would rather die than and not take any blood.
All right, well there you go. All right, Debbie, you got to shut your TV off or whatever's going on in the background. There, you got a lot of background.
I don't have anything on. I don't have anything on. It's just
well, there's a lot of noises coming from your phone. I'd hate to say it, but TV or something going on. Yep. All right. Thank you, Debbie. All right. So, anyways, remember now your microphone. Your phone is a microphone. We want to keep it nice and clear. I'm not sure it was Debbie, but I only have that one mic open. So, yeah, you want to always make sure that you got that mic muted if you're not talking, because man, it makes my job so much easier, friends. You know, I'm constantly looking.
Hey, Rick.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, this is Scott. I don't know what congregation some of you folks went to, because in all my 30 years, I grew up originally around Batavia, New York, and then I was, of course, in Massachusetts, Chelmsford. But in all my 30 years, a lot of that stuff that you talked about, never once ever heard of any of it. Not one bit of it.
Well, when can I ask how old?
Hands or anything like that.
How old are you, Scott?
That's funny.
How old are you?
Me? I'm 61.
You're 61. I didn't realize you were that old. You're an old man. No, you're not.
Yeah, I am. That's why I said in all my years,
you can't remember the Dairy Queen ice cream had blood in it, and hot dogs had blood.
No, we went to Dairy Queen all the time. We had one in our town.
Well, where were you? Living under a rock or what? You never heard this?
I don't know. And maybe I had a congregation that had some common sense.
Well,
I think that's more likely what it was.
Well, there's no such.
No, I mean those rumors never spread around mine, at least where I was.
Well, there's no such thing as a congregation with common sense. I mean, really, there isn't.
Well, maybe a few of them. There were. Give them that.
Hey, Rick.
Yes.
There's one other quick thing about the aluminum.
Yeah.
Thing. You see, that was quite early. That was in the golden age, and that with Clayton Woodworth used to run the golden age and the Awake magazine back in the 20s and 30s, and he's the one that came up with this crackpot idea. He had read it somewhere else in some health magazine or something. There are people still to this day who say that aluminum is toxic if you cook on it. And somehow Woodworth got it into his head and started writing articles in the 30s about this, 20s and 30s, and that's why. Unless your parents, like people our age, unless your parents had been witnesses back in the early days before the war, then you wouldn't have heard about this. Because, of course, any of their nonsense and crap and gobbledygook that they had in the past, they never admitted or talk about it again later. You got to find out from some historian like Penton or somebody else that writes a book about them. That's how I know, because Penton told me about it.
Oh, yeah.
But
Well, you're right. You're absolutely right, Brian. Thank you, Brian. No, that's good. That adds a lot to it. Okay, I guess we gotta go. We got maybe call for one more person here. We're gonna go to Greece here.
Hey, Rick?
Yeah, go ahead.
I wonder if people remember back in the 50s that the Watchtower said no man will ever go into outer space. And of course they did.
Oh, yeah, no, that's true, Dick. They called it the envelope. They said no man would ever break the envelope. That was, of course, space. Yeah, you're right, Dick. How about we get Toronto, Canada? Last call. Go ahead, Toronto.
Hey, Rick, I thought I'd end this on a different note. I thought I'd end the show, or rather not end the show, but leave you with a joke.
Yeah.
Did you hear about the Ethiopian men that fell into a crocodile pit?
I didn't hear about that one.
He ate six crocodiles before they could pull him out.
All right. Well,
all right.
Well, at least it's clean. At least it's clean, you know.
Did you hear about Evil Knievel's latest trick?
No.
He's going to ride across Ethiopia with a sandwich tied behind his back.
Well, you know, I got a new program coming up called Apostate's Got Talent. Maybe you could try out for that and be a comedian.
Hey, you know what? Hey, I'll do my best.
All right. Well, thank you, brother, for calling in from Canada. Thank you. All right, that's it.
All right.
Oh, my goodness gracious. I wish we had more time, but we got the man coming in from the belly of the beast. That is Reese down in New York City. So he'll be on with us shortly here, so stay with us. Reese, are you on with us? Just let me know you're here. I know he's having a snowstorm down there. Reese, you on the telephone with us? Star 6. Okay.
I am now, Rick. I hit *6.
All right, you're on there with us. I just want to make sure. Give me about 3 or 4 minutes, and we'll get right to your program. All right. I just want to say that now tomorrow we do have a 6-screen Sunday. You know we don't preach to you on Saturday night. We're not. I'm a Christian man, but I don't preach to you on Saturday night. I know what goes on when you leave the Watchtower. You've been so spiritually abused that you don't want to hear anything about scriptures, Bible, or anything. I get it. I do get it. So we do not preach to you on Saturday night. That's a no-no here. But for those that do get into theological thought and discussion, why don't you join us tomorrow, 6-screen Sunday. Now, beginning at 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, we have 2 guys coming on, the Christian apologists, Scott and Jody. Well, they have a program called Knowing God. Why don't you check it out? And then at 2 o'clock, we have Anne Marie. She has a brand new program. And boy, I will tell you, this is going to be a blockbuster. She's got a program called Testimonies. Now, you know, maybe you're a Christian now when you left the Watchtower, and you'd like to give your testimony on Anne Marie's program at 2 o'clock tomorrow. It's called Testimonies. We have some people coming in that will be telling their testimony. But if you want to tell your testimony, why don't you get in and just let us know how you became a Christian? Could you do that for us? By all means, on our 6 Screens Network. And then, of course, we want to go to JW World News at 3 o'clock. And we'll bring you right up to speed like we are here tonight on what's going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. And then, of course, at 4 o'clock, we have Jay Hess. If you haven't heard Jay, Jay was at one time associated with the writing department of the Watchtower. He did a lot of work on their highfalutin theological brochures like the Trinity brochure. Jay worked on these highfalutin spiritual articles in the Watchtower. He has his own program. It's called Making Disciples with Jay. He's on at 4 o'clock tomorrow. He's going to be on YouTube. So if you'd like to check that out, he answers Bible questions. If you're out there and you have any questions after leaving the Watchtower, biblical questions, of course, he'll be answering them tomorrow on his program. Also, we do have, and I'm not kidding, we're now going to go with 6 Screens Entertainment. We're going to create a separate little network here. We're going to have a program called Apostate's Got Talent. Now, if you play an instrument or you're into art, you sing, you're a comedian, let me know. and maybe you have a clip from YouTube or a film clip somewhere, a video, or maybe you want to come on live. Hopefully in the next month or so, we have a brand new program coming in called Apostate's Got Talent. So, if you've been inhibited some way because the Watchtower restricted you from showing your talent, we're going to let you show your talent right here on the 6 screens. So by all means, write me at jwworldnews@gmail.com and tell me what you do. Send me a clip, and we'll get you on a brand new program, 6 Screens Entertainment. And we also want to say this. Why don't you subscribe? If you like the program that you watch here tonight on YouTube, why don't you subscribe to it? Because the algorithms, the more people subscribing, the more people will be able to get this program, and it can help so many people to wiggle their way loose out of the Watchtower. And subscribe or like us on Facebook. And join our 6 Screens Facebook group. Join that, and there's so many other Facebook groups in there as well. Join them all and learn as much as you can about what's going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. We want to thank you very much for coming in tonight. We don't want you to be strangers. I thank everyone that spoke up tonight. That's really great. A lot of new people coming in. Thank you very much for doing that. So now I just want to say, as I always say, the last one leaving the Watchtower, please turn off the new light. We're going to Reese down on the belly of the beast. Hello, Reese. Are you with us?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm ready to go, Rick.
All right. Well, I'm just going to turn it over to you. So I'm just going to let you take the program away. I'm just going to hold on one second, though, Reese. We're going to be coming down off of YouTube and Facebook. If you're listening in there right now, go to 6screensofthewatchtower.com. 6screensofthewatchtower.com, and it'll give you instructions how to listen into Reese's program and other programs coming up tonight. 6screensofthewatchtower.com. Scroll down, you'll see the telephone number, you'll see the video suite link. Hit that link. Put a fictitious name in, you can listen in there. It's a very safe way to listen here on the 6 Screens. Thank you very much, everyone. We're going to end YouTube right now on Facebook. We're now going to Reese. Hello.